say that even me personally, I had that thoughts. Should I have a master here in Ukraine, or should I move as a person? But then I found an answer for myself. I started to be active in Youth Council 3 years ago, and I believe that we could establish possibility for young people, but only ideas that we could influence the process is the good things which motivated us. But in case of youth mobility, we found quite interesting numbers. One of them is that UNFPA during the parliament hearing mentioned that 80% of young people are looking for opportunity to leave or have an idea to leave. But at the same time, we does have another statistic which is printed out in last 2017 survey, which was done by the ministry, and it's a bit different figures. And at the same time, Ministry of Youth says that it's just 20% of young people who would like to leave Ukraine for studying and then go back, which means that by the figures it's not very clear. But on my own perspective, I really more trust to the figures which was mentioned by UNFPA. And it's why we think that Ordes could be very cool tool, which could provide possibility for young people not to buy tickets to away. Trying to say, okay, we would like to check, we would like to find a way how the structure and institution and life is going on abroad. And we think that tool offered us to find more opportunity for young people, how to study abroad, how to visit different trainings, how to find a partner for cooperation within their own goals, could provide possibility for young people to increase mobility, not only inside Ukraine, but also outside of Ukraine. And we hope that that mechanism, when it will really provide a lot of possibilities, will be quite good and useful tool how young people could still travel quite a lot and then find a way how to implement follow-up. But they need to have also support and very clear understanding in which way they will implement their follow-up at home. So how the things is going on. And after that mobility, it was not a mobility program, but after that mobility action, I found a way that, let's try to do something similar in Ukraine. Let's try to have more ambitious goals. And we think that young people will do the same. They will find in their own sphere what they really like by their own, if it is culture or its economy or whatever, is their own decision. They should find an mechanism or try to find their way how they would like develop a country or develop their own life. It's up to them. But we think that within the limitation, if we will limit them not to leave a country, not to have a look, it will not develop young people. We already had Iron Curtain for years, for decades, for our parents, and it's not help. And it was a lot of wave of immigration from Ukraine, and we think that it's better to provide that possibility to get as much as possible information. But at the same time, we are standing as a National Youth Council of Ukraine, for example, on Erasmus Plus possibility, because we think that young people should not only go for civic project. We think that we could have equal exchange between the University of Ukraine and Europe, but for current moment, Ministry of Education of Ukraine not really feel that is important, and they still mainly focus on capacity development of Ukrainian university. But we promoting to focus first of all on students, because they are the real influencer in university, because in next generation could be less people, less students, and we could have a lack of working people also in Ukraine, because it's already current situation. Around 1 million of young people are studying or working in Poland, which is the nearest border country. But we think that first of all, when we communicated, we think that if you are looking for better option or better life from your point of view, you could buy your ticket easily, not only to the Poland, within the train or bus, which is the cheapest way, but also say, okay, Ryanair will start work in Ukraine since autumn, and you could try to go more far away and check different experience, because Europe is also different. It's not just the nearest country, and culture of democracy and culture of way of doing life is also different. We are trying to promote not found the easiest way how to live, but found your own goal, why you are living, what you would like to achieve, except a bit high salary. I think that it's very important to have that equal access. It's also it's very popular thematic in Ukraine right now, patriotic education, for example. And I think it's very patriotic to have equal access also for Erasmus, not only provide opportunity for people to leave Ukraine, but also to be the equal partner who could say and invite German young people or from any other country to say, please have a look how we are doing, because if you became transparent and try to share your opinions, you could find also critical feedback to yourself, but at the same time you could show our reality, which sometimes is really interesting, because when you do not have any structure or anything from zero, you could start and be more effective from some point. I think that in the last years it was established quite a lot of youth hub and youth spaces. Not all of them are municipal or governmentally owned. It's also sometimes developed by projects with international support or a private company, or sometimes young people doing very cool startups in Ukraine. And I think that how they found and how they managed to do all that things what is done by Ukrainians without very easy way to support is also established very creative way of doing business here in Ukraine. And I think that if young people from abroad could come, they could see in which challenges Ukrainian youth does have. And after that, it's a bit more easily to understand that things what is already happened in their country is already big benefit. For example, I think that results which we could analyze in Germany with more radical populist party, it's also somehow lack of understanding why the democratic way of doing life is a bit more important to keep and worried about it and to work on it and develop it everyday life. And I think that we need to develop it in Ukraine, but I think a lot of European countries could doing that together with us. But we had a very interesting discussion with the Hungarian Youth Council, for example, when we try to discuss, okay, we have a common future. We have our Transcarpathian region, we have our regional youth council there, and we need to work on inclusion of national minorities, for example. Because if both countries will not find a way how equally support national minorities of Ukraine and Hungary, and how to find a way how to support Hungarians in Ukraine equally, it will be very hard to find easy way for any other cooperation, also economical and political, and we feel that it's really important topic from both of the countries, and it's one of our work and one of our goal to find a way for anyone who is living in Ukraine to feel comfortable, to find a way how to develop themselves. And we think that during that Ukrainian experience, people also could find why youth mobility is important. In eastern Ukraine, we had figures in 2013 that 80% of young people there, they never moved from their region. With us, we did have in Luhansk and Donetsk around 20 regions in each oblast, which means that some people or 80% of people who is living there. They never was even in Donetsk or even Luhansk. They never was inside Ukraine, and for some of them was really easily to go across the border to Rostov-on-Don because they promoted that kind of cross-border cooperation, which is kind of politically not very good because we not thinking that it's equal, that it was a real equal exchange and it's equal interest from both countries. The same story we could found in Belarus, for example, but their situation with youth policy also very easy to understand. If all of the projects is initiated by the government but not from the young people, it means that it's not interest of young people, and it provides very hard situation when young people who would like to initiate, if they have no space to do that, they are looking for another country where they could realize themselves. It's why we in Ukraine try to promote as much as possible participatory process in development of budget for youth or development future policy and strategy. But I think that that level is increased in years. But of course, we are still not that influential to really provide services and possibilities for majority of young people in Ukraine. It's more than needed. What we have in current moment that it's from 1 till 3% of young people who are participating in youth organization as a member. It depends because a couple of years ago it was 3%, but it's very hard by definition how the young people realize what does it mean participation in youth organization. If they are paying membership fees, have every day or every week meetings between each other, have their own agenda, it's one level of participation, but at the same time we have from 15 to 20% of young people who are participating in youth events or activity of different organizations. And we in National Youth Council of Ukraine, sadly not talking about membership and or counting membership of our member organization through their list of their members. We are trying to reach how to find how many young people they reach through the 1 year of their work. And if they count 2,000 young people, they could be recognized. It's not very much, but it's one of the way we could prove it within the photos and pictures in social media, because we think that it's a better way if we does have 100,000 of NGO which is registered in Ukraine, and only 1% of them are active. And sadly, we could not clarify easily which of that organization are active, only through the social media and try to check what is their real work, how they are act. Because in Ukrainian reality, it was a lot of statistic which was established at one moment in people who was active in Komsomol. It's a youth organization of Communist Party of Ukraine. They still show all the time that they cover everyone, but it's not possible. And the same story was after that. By the official statistics, some organization declared that they cover 50,000 of children, 100,000 of young people, but all the figures are fake for us, because with that amount of funds which exist for youth policy and for children policy or for any organization, it's not possible to cover that amount of people in a very realistic way. For example, what we are working on now, that even if young people will have all that mobility program and will develop their own skills and understanding, they need to have really easy access to the projects, to the funds for their goal, what they could do together. Because otherwise, why they should be part of youth NGO if it is not providing your life easily, if you are not receiving funds which could help you to implement your own goal, which could be interesting for you. Because, for example, why we think that it's not a high level of political participation also? Because people don't feel that if they will influence the strategy or any other political document, they will receive practical result afterwards. That they feel there is a gap between policy and implementation of it. Because in Ukraine we does have law on youth social development rights, which was developed in 1993. And it's super socialistic because me as a young person in Ukraine, I have guarantee on everything, which means that I could go to the court and claim on it. But at the same time, we have more than 500 national social program by the cabinet of the minister, but only 5% of them is financed. One of them is called the Youth of Ukraine, and it's providing possibility for municipal level, for national level, providing youth competition for youth organization. It's quite good opportunity, but at the same time, the mechanism is a bit more old. Because at one moment we does have a possibility to pay via your mobile cell phone in 21st century here in Ukraine. We does have luckily 3G after Maidan. It became possible, and LTE now. But at the same time, if you would like to manage project, you need to go to the treasury system, be registered an NGO. Theoretically, it's not easy to manage it without accountant, but it's no administrative cost providing from state. And it's provided mainly for youth organization interest to international funds where they could have administrative funds, but it's less interest to national funding line. And as a result, it's lack of interest to national strategy because it's not interesting for them in practical way. And for example, Youth in Action program, which was previous program before Erasmus+, it was around 100 of youth organizations which was established just because of 2 years of possibility to host project of Youth in Action in Ukraine, invite different international team from Europe, and it was easy access for funds. It's just a very simple way how you should register an NGO, and then you could do it within your bank application, not in treasury system, which means that you don't need that much administrative resources. And I think that it's influenced the youth landscape before Maidan also very, very. What we are working on currently, we think that it's really important to focus on all that regulation on national level, and we did some changes on national level because sadly that in Ukrainian reality or even during the process of decentralization, it's still majority of regulation come to the local level from national level. And it's why when we are changing, I don't know, we luckily doubled from €1 for food per day to €2 for food per day as a maximum tax. Right now it's on the way of changing one more time, even more higher. It's still not changing a situation, but at least like general feeling of situation. But it's some steps what could be more useful for local level. Because when you are doing scout camp, it's a bit more easily and cheaper to doing stuff. Or if you are organizing local training, just you need money for food. Because in newly established Hromada, everyone from different villages, they could just meet to the established youth club, and they need, have a bicycle or a bus which is working there in Hromada, and then you need to organize event, just not much, a lot of funds. But on local level right now with NYCU working on a couple of projects. One of them, it's called Child and Youth Friendly City. It's mainly focused for municipality, but also for newly established Hromada, which is the unity of different village. And in that process of decentralization, it's really important to, first of all, establish strategy on youth, because in Hromadas they feel mainly in quicker way when young people decide to leave. because when they graduate school, they are usually looking for college or university. It's situated in big cities or bigger cities, and they're living community. And if it was a baby boom in 1 year, and 20 young people could live that Hromada or that village, and 200 people in Hromada in 1 year, it's really a very practical effect on Hromada. It's why more than 160 Hromadas and cities applied to work together with us and UNICEF and other partners, because we think that they are really in interest to develop youth policy on local and municipal level. Otherwise, their main part of Ukrainian society who feel that young people would like to leave. It's very practically affect their level of development of Hromada. And they have a participatory budget in Hromada, which was in parallel way established to the process of decentralization, their establishment, when everyone who is living there, of the young people, could vote for projects, which is applied from people who live there, and also they could apply for a project. What we are doing, we try to promote a lot of projects of our member organization who are doing active citizenship project to educate young people that it's easy to have a promotion, and probably your project will be support. You don't be shy, and we are promoting project management, how it could be written down, what kind of things could be done. At the same time, we promoting that follow-up after a lot of international things should be supported by Hromadas, and they need also to check what kind of expertise exists in their population who's working there, what they are interested to work on. And in that participatory budget, we are looking for opportunity of newly priority for youth in process of decentralization, which could be also additional way how youth organization could be exist and could survive with that funds. Mm-hmm. At the same time, on level of Hromadas, in that process, they always would like to show their best practices, and they would like to compete to each other, to show their coolness. But we, as a youth council, just had a week ago meeting in Kropivnitsky. They built up a regional youth council, which consists school and student representatives. But we had a lot of different people from all over Ukraine, from different Hromadas, and they show their experience of youth participation structure. And we had a representative from Bayerische Jugendrat and from national, federal level of Germany. And it was really important for us as a national council to say, you have a lot of very cool ideas and projects and mechanisms on local and municipal level. In some cities, for example, in Sumy, local or municipal youth center have 5 times bigger budget than Ministry of Youth for youth competition. Okay. And it's sometimes interesting also if Hromady or cities receive more funds, they also need to have that level of quality and culture of doing that. And in doing that consultative body, it was idea to have a regulation for consultative body for local, municipal, and regional level. And then for us, it was, of course, a big question why we are not mentioning national level and never recognized by European Youth Forum structure, because we could educate and provide support for different consultative body. They should consist not only student from school and university, because it's easiest way how to manage with organized youth, because they have influence on them, for example, marks of the teachers. But we try to promote that youth body should have a youth organization. Youth organization should have resources, and that consultative body should influence policy and priority and strategic points for future of Hromadas, for future of youth policy in Hromadas. And it's one of our main goals to achieve as a result that even if we have some standardizing of youth consultative body, they should have much more youth NGO and independence from exist structure. At the same moment, we're thinking that youth centers, which is established all over Ukraine, has to be mainly space for youth organization, but not only space where will work youth workers. And they have a lot of money, a lot of resources, for example, for doing an event, but it's not democracy. It's not when young people decide that. It's when a director of youth center decided that it's important for, I don't know, mayor or city hall to have that kind of event at date, especially date. And then workers starting to work with young people. But our main goal is to promote participatory process when young people are in decision making on municipal, local, regional level, also national level, to change national regulation for local level, which is applicable for current moment and must, and at the same time to provide support and education for local youth policy workers, but also for young people how to become proactive in that process. It's very easy for me because in 2014, when was elected parliament, 7 from 8 or 6 from 7 political party was established or rebrand, which consists absolutely new structure, absolutely new logo, name, branding, ideology, program, just half a year before election. And if you do not have proper structure, you do not have space where young people could grow up, could be educated, and could influence the process. But at the same time, the atmosphere was quite youth-friendly after Maidan and during Maidan. It's because a lot of young people still became to the parliament. But the problem is that they are not there because they represent young people or they would like to work on youth issues. It's just because they are young, nice, worker of party or journalists, and they are doing a lot of good work in parliament. But at the same time, it's no party who decided that youth is the main priority in their political agenda, in their program of their party, in cabinet, in coalition agreement or cabinet of minister action plan. It's no youth as a main priority. And it's not a secret that 2 times when was discussion, should it be exist Ministry of Youth and Sport, it was very hard discussion, and we had our special position of National Youth Council to keep possibility for us to raise issue on cabinet level, to have a minister on youth and sport, because otherwise it could happen as in Moldova, for example, in current, when it became part of educational ministry and we could not found youth. It's smaller than just a small department or small branch of department of Ministry of Education by the funding, because in Ministry of Youth and Sport it's also not a better solution. We have just 1% or 1.5% for youth and 99% of funds is for sport, which means it's also not equal, and it's a bit more sport-oriented position during cabinet meetings. But it's our role as a National Youth Council. When it was established in 2015, from that 7 party who was elected, it's just one of them had a strong youth branch with network all over Ukraine. But for current moment, we does have I think except one political party process when they develop youth structure. And it's very important for us as a youth council. We became open for youth wing of political party with some limitations still, as it was previously. Because in Ukrainian reality, if you are strong youth organization of political party, you would like to become Komsomol and say that young people are only your party, but not ready for pluralism. And it was a problem because that we should sign a memorandum with ministry when it's controlled by that party, and then they would like to have their party on board of youth council and influence process. But we decided that it's possible only if we have representative of coalition and opposition at the same time. Otherwise, it's a bit pity when youth council became more closer to agenda of only one party. And since that moment, we became open for coalition and opposition pro-European party or pro-democratic party. And we hope that it could be a really good result before that election, which will come in 2019 autumn for parliament and presidential also. But we're mainly focusing to work currently with youth organization of political party and non-political youth organization, what is really also important to include agenda, which is interesting for mainly young people, not only political active. We would like to develop kind of suggestion and list and pledges of suggestion and amendments to program of political party. We hope that they could have more possibility to include youth agenda to their program, and we hope that a level of youth participation, even during the process of establishment and consultation, what should be done, will increase also role of youth organization of political party, because usually it was people who is working on youth dimension or youth work inside party, not a democratic structure who's representing of young people to influence agenda of party. On last local election was 20% of young people who did vote. It's the lowest result ever, but probably because it's first ever when local election came without any parliament or presidential at the same time. But still, we think that we need to work on participation in electoral process also. Otherwise, young people, if they will not be active, if we will not go during election, vote and decide by our own, no one will carry on interest of young people. I would like to say that it's very important to have your interest to the process, what is going on in Ukraine. It's provided a bit more motivation for us because we starting to build up structure and youth policy in Ukraine with German experience, and we think that it could be really practically implemented in Ukraine. At the same time, we are checking how the situation is going on in different countries, and we trying to say that Ukraine not only at the back, for some process we also in front, because we already struggling that issues or situation, and we think that we could build up our common Europe and common world in a bit better way if we will do it all together.